1957, a horrific discovery was made in a quiet, wooded area of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. A young boy, no older than 4 or 5, was found dead in a cardboard box. His body was bruised, battered, and left abandoned, with no identification, just an innocent child left alone in the world. For 65 years, the boy was known only as the boy in the box, an unidentified victim whose death shocked the city and became one of the most haunting cold cases in American history. Despite efforts by law enforcement, no one knew his name, no one could claim him, and his killer remained unidentified. It wasn't until 2022 that DNA evidence would finally solve the mystery and bring an end to the decades-long search. The boy, now known as Joseph Augustus Zarelli, was identified, and the truth behind his tragic death would finally begin to unravel. This case, which had haunted investigators for years, turned out to be much more than just the discovery of a child's body. It was a story about family, tragedy, and the power of modern science. On the morning of February 25, 1957, a man named Frederick L. Mullaney, who was driving through a wooded area near Fox Chase in Philadelphia, made an unexpected and tragic discovery. Hidden among some brush, in a secluded part of the northeast Philadelphia neighborhood, he came across a cardboard box that appeared crushed. Inside, the body of a young child was uncovered. The boy was found naked inside the box, with signs of severe trauma to his body. His hair had been recently cut, and he showed clear signs of neglect and abuse. The child was bruised, and his body appeared to have been severely beaten before his death. Investigators found that he had been strangled, but the lack of clear evidence about his identity left law enforcement without any immediate leads. There was no identification on the boy, no tags, no belongings, nothing that could point to who he was or where he came from. The only clues were the strange nature of the discovery itself and the apparent cruelty involved in the murder. The case immediately sent shockwaves through the community, and the search for answers began. Despite police efforts, no one came forward to claim the boy. He was buried as John Doe in a potter's field, and his case went cold, remaining one of Philadelphia's most tragic unsolved mysteries. He became known as the Boy in the Box, a name that would haunt both investigators and the public for decades. But before we dive deeper, we want to know where you are watching from. Comment below and let us know what part of the world you're tuning in from. The discovery of Joseph Augustus Zarelli's body in February 1957 immediately drew attention from the Philadelphia police. The gruesome nature of the crime, coupled with the boy's unidentified status, sent shockwaves throughout the city. Law enforcement quickly launched an investigation, canvassing the area and conducting interviews with anyone who might have had information about the child's identity. Yet, despite their efforts, the case quickly became mired in confusion. One of the first challenges was the complete lack of identification. Investigators turned to the media in an attempt to generate tips. Local news outlets ran stories about the discovery, hoping to find someone who could identify the boy or provide any clues about his family. Flyers were distributed, and police even went door-to-door in neighborhoods across Philadelphia, but no one came forward with useful information. The cardboard box that contained the boy's body became a focal point of the investigation. Initially, investigators thought that the box might have been linked to a specific business or product, but the lack of distinctive markings or labels on the box made that lead difficult to follow. In the absence of physical evidence pointing to a suspect, the police turned their attention to the child's cause of death. The autopsy revealed that the boy had been strangled and had suffered blunt force trauma, leading authorities to believe he had been violently abused before his death. The brutality of the crime suggested a possible personal connection to the victim. Some speculated that the boy's killer might have had an emotional tie to him, given the level of violence involved. But as the days turned into weeks, the investigation stalled. Despite following up on several potential leads, including the possibility of a missing child, no one seemed to have any answers. The community was haunted by the question, who was this child, and who could commit such a heinous act? For decades, Joseph Augustus Zarelli remained known only as the Boy in the Box, his identity and the details surrounding his death a haunting mystery. Despite numerous efforts by law enforcement, the case grew colder as the years went by, and the boy's identity remained elusive. However, in 2022, a breakthrough finally occurred that would change everything. In recent years, Advancements in forensic DNA analysis had been revolutionizing cold case investigations. The police turned to this cutting-edge technology in the hopes of solving the boy-in-the-box case once and for all. Through genetic genealogy, investigators were able to trace Joseph's identity by linking his DNA to a distant family relative. The key to this breakthrough was the use of DNA databases similar to the ones used in solving other high-profile cold cases, such as the Golden State Killer. Authorities uploaded DNA from the crime scene into the public DNA database and cross-referenced it with thousands of people who had submitted their genetic information for genealogical purposes. This was a long shot, but it paid off. Joseph's identity was revealed when investigators discovered that he was the son of Augustus John, Gus Zarelli, and Mary Elizabeth, Betsy Abel, a couple who had lived in the Philadelphia area at the time of his death. Gus and Betsy had tragically passed away long before the case was solved, and their family had been unaware of what had happened to their missing child. The revelation was both shocking and heartbreaking for those who had long wondered about his fate. After 65 years of uncertainty, Joseph Augustus Zarelli was no longer just the boy in the box. He was a real child with a real family, and his true identity was finally revealed. This breakthrough allowed his family to finally grieve properly and provided some measure of closure to a case that had haunted Philadelphia for decades. When the identity of Joseph Augustus Zarelli was finally revealed in 2022, the reaction was a mix of shock, sorrow, and relief, not just for his family, but for the wider community that had been following the case for over 60 years. The story of the boy in the box had captivated the public for decades, and the breakthrough in the case provided some long-awaited closure. For those in Philadelphia, the discovery of the boy's identity brought an overwhelming sense of relief. The mystery had haunted the city for generations, with locals often wondering about the boy and what had happened to him. His true identity being revealed allowed the community to finally understand who he was, not just a nameless victim, but a child with a family who had been lost far too soon. The emotional weight of this revelation was felt most by the Zarelli family, who had been unaware of what had happened to their son. The Zarelli siblings, who had grown up without knowing their brother's fate, were overwhelmed by the discovery. They never thought they would find out what happened to Joseph after all these years, and they now had the painful but important opportunity to lay him to rest properly. For them, the closure came with mixed emotions. They had lived with the mystery for decades, and now the pain of knowing the truth was real. The media also played a major role in the reaction to the case's resolution. The DNA breakthrough made headlines around the world, and the public interest in the case skyrocketed once again. Some outlets hailed the identification as a triumph of modern science and a victory for cold case investigations, while others focused on the tragic nature of Joseph's death and the years of torment his family endured. In addition, many were left questioning why the case remained unsolved for so long. The public's anger was often directed at the investigative errors made during the initial handling of the case. Had the police missed key evidence? Were there missed opportunities that could have led to a quicker resolution? While there were many questions about the investigation's handling, the DNA breakthrough provided a sense of hope for the future of solving cold cases, as it was a clear example of how advancements in forensic science could help bring justice even after decades. After decades of unanswered questions, the identification of Joseph Augustus Zarelli brought closure, but the search for justice continued. While the discovery of his identity helped his family grieve, the investigation into his murder remained ongoing. The circumstances surrounding Joseph's death, his brutal treatment and abandonment in a cardboard box, left many unanswered questions, and the police were still actively pursuing leads. The breakthrough in DNA genealogy proved that modern science could solve cold cases, but it also raised important questions about why the case had remained unsolved for so long. Many wondered whether the police could have done more in the early stages of the investigation to prevent the case from growing cold. Some theorists even speculated that there might be more to Joseph's story than initially believed, and that his death could be linked to a larger, more troubling pattern of crimes in the area. Though the police had identified Joseph's parents and gathered new DNA evidence, they still had no clear answers about the identity of the killer or killers. Over the years, multiple leads and suspects had emerged, but none were ever definitively connected to the crime. The case was further complicated by the lack of forensic evidence at the time of the initial investigation, as many critical details were missed when Joseph's body was first discovered. Despite these challenges, law enforcement in Philadelphia remained committed to finding justice for Joseph. The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, NCMEC, continues to assist investigators by providing resources to help identify potential suspects and uncover new leads. As technology improves, there is hope that even more clues will emerge that could help finally answer the question: who was responsible for Joseph's murder? For the Zarelli family, the case's conclusion remains bittersweet. While they are grateful for the DNA breakthrough that allowed them to properly identify and lay to rest their long-lost relative, the pain of losing Joseph under such tragic circumstances remains with them. They, like many others, are left waiting for justice to be served. The case of Joseph Augustus Zarelli, known for decades as the boy in the box, is not just another cold case solved. It's a reminder of the power of modern forensic science and the enduring legacy of those left behind. His story raises important questions about the role of DNA in solving old mysteries and the impact of unresolved cases on families and communities. One of the major reasons this case stands out is the use of genetic genealogy, which allowed authorities to trace Joseph's identity through distant relatives in public DNA databases. This technique, which has solved numerous cold cases in recent years, has fundamentally changed how investigators approach long unsolved crimes. For Joseph, the breakthrough in 2022 meant that his true identity was revealed after 65 years, allowing his family to mourn, finally, for the child they had lost so tragically. Beyond the scientific aspect, Joseph's story highlights the emotional toll that unsolved cases take on families. His family, after decades of wondering what had happened to him, were left with more questions than answers until his identity was discovered. The pain of knowing the truth, while offering closure, also meant reliving the tragedy. It is a sobering reminder that closure often comes with mixed emotions, especially when so much time has passed. Joseph's case also underscores the importance of community involvement and the persistence of law enforcement. While the Zarelli family never gave up hope, the public's involvement and the media's continued interest in the case ensured that it remained in the public eye, even when it seemed like no answers would come. The Philadelphia police and the FBI, who tirelessly worked for years to uncover the truth, also demonstrated the relentless pursuit of justice, despite the obstacles that often make these cases feel unsolvable. This case also brings attention to the wider issue of child welfare and the importance of protecting vulnerable children from harm. Joseph's tragic fate emphasizes that we must remain vigilant in caring for and advocating for children, especially those who are at risk. His story serves as a stark reminder that many children around the world, like Joseph, are still left vulnerable, and that it's the collective responsibility of society to ensure they have a safe and loving environment. As we conclude the story of Joseph Augustus Zarelli, we are reminded of the incredible impact that modern science and DNA technology have on solving cases that have long remained unsolved. The boy in the box, once a nameless victim, has now been identified, and his family has finally been able to put him to rest with the dignity he deserved. Yet, despite the closure brought by the DNA breakthrough, his death remains an open wound, with justice still sought for the tragic loss of his life. Joseph's case is a poignant reminder of how vital it is for us to continue pushing for advancements in forensic technology and ensuring that cold cases are given the attention they deserve. It shows us that justice is sometimes delayed, but not forgotten, and it underscores the importance of keeping hope alive, even when the road to answers seems endless. While Joseph's true identity has been revealed and his family can now mourn and remember him, the pursuit of justice continues. There is still a killer out there whose identity remains unknown, and the police are determined to bring that person to justice. It is a testament to the resilience of law enforcement and the dedication of the Zarelli family that this case remains a priority even after so many years. Let us know your thoughts in the comments section. What do you think will happen next in Joseph's case? Do you believe justice will be served? Thank you for watching, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more deep dives into unsolved cases. We'll see you next time as we continue to explore the power of DNA in solving the mysteries that haunt us.